Hey everybody, this is Guru Francis, Big Boy Screamer, and today's another episode of Bayani Talk. Hey everybody, this is Guru Francis, Big Boy Screamer, and today is another episode of Bayani Talk, and we're going to be talking about the BRAM BOWIE training knife. But before we do that, please don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe, and don't forget that notification button so you're alerted to the latest media or latest video that drops within 413 Media channel. Let's get right into this. So today we're going to talk about the BRAM BOWIE training knife. Now, full disclosure, this knife was a gift from Grandmaster Bram Frank himself. But he asked me, he didn't ask me to do a review on it, but I wanted to do it anyway because, you know what, I wanted to anyway. Bottom line, I wanted to do. But I always tell people if they're going to give me something, and if I do decide to review it, I'm going to give it my honest review, whether it's positive or negative. It's going to be an honest review. So you always have my guarantee on that one. So let's start talking into this. Okay, so this is the BRAM BOWIE training knife. Now, when Grandmaster Bram Frank messaged me saying that he was going to send me a gift, and again, Bram, maraming salamat, thank you very much. Very early Christmas happiness from this kid. So he was sending me. So he said he wanted to know what should I send, what he should send me, and I said honestly, whatever you send me, I'm eternally grateful because I've always seen your knives. Of course, when we met at Chacho, I've always loved it, but I've never really had one. So this was going to be a really really awesome thing to have. So I'm really excited about it. So he sent me the Bowie knife. He said it was the Big Boy Bowie. He said for the Big Boy Screamador. So I'm like, yeah, thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate it. So here it is. So now, even though my favorite training knife is still the AccuStrike knife, this is really a really close second, only because this is designed to be the training version of this bad boy right here. The actual Bowie knife. And of course, this is the live blade version. But we're going to be talking about this because it pertains to a lot about this, but I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube or anything like that, be taken down. So I just want to, we're going to talk about the training knife. So, of course, if you compare them side to side, the design-wise, they look exactly the same. Of course, the exact difference is, of course, that this is an orange. So and from what I understand, so that it's easier for you to know which one's the live blade and which one's the training blade. Okay, so there's that. Of course, the only difference, the major difference is, of course, this is blunted. There's no sharp edges or a point. So this is absolutely for training purposes only. All right, so let's get into why I think this is a great knife. Why I think it's a great knife, because I think Grandmaster Bram Frank, being a Filipino martial artist, designed this for the Filipino martial artist. Why do I say that? Well, just by the first thing that I noticed when I saw this was, let me see if there we go. These things right here, right? So I'm like, okay, so then I flipped it to the other side, and there's that as well. And then if underneath the clip, you can't see this, but underneath the clip is the other side of this. Now I'm assuming that of course, when you put this to the other side, this will of course fit. If you're more of a southpaw, you put the clip on the other side, and then of course it will rest here. So then the question is, why is this? Until you finally hold on to it like you're supposed to, then you realize that it's ergonomically designed. It's smartly designed to fit my hand. Okay, so why? Because now when I hold it here, and these are the two dots here, my ring and my pinky finger rest comfortably on top of that. Now that wasn't ever an issue, but now just from the touch that and what orientation that you're holding the knife to be. So then the question is, why is the other side? Well, we'll talk about that right now. Because normally you would hold the knife like this, the standard hold, right? Well, if you decide to hold it sushi grip, your pinky finger rests right there. Your index finger rests exactly right there. So let's go back to the regular grip, and I'll talk about the sushi reverse grip in a second. So then now, what I love about this is that the way you hold it is very comfortable. The thumb rests right here, and there's some grooves there, so that you can just again by the tactile touch, that you're holding the knife in an upright position. Okay. Then over here as well, where right about here, there's there's some grooves there as well, so that again, it's not uncomfortable. It's actually very comfortable resting it there. But that's so that again, you know that you're holding it properly. Now, these things are also designed for kind of like a pull motion into that, so that if you were to use this if you're using this in the closed position as a self-defense mechanism or a control mechanism of your opponent, this is a way to hold them in there as well. Now, the great thing is on the other side, it also has some grooves in there, so that's also kind of a, so it has a pull and push, excuse me, pull and push aspect to this part of the trainer. Now, with this protruding this far out, this is also a knuckle duster. So again, from the closed position, you grab this, you can kind of use this as a hammer, right? So that's right in itself. It's a blunt force, you know, self-defense tool. But you know, it still holds just like my like, you know, just it still holds like a regular knife, of course. So I love that aspect about that. Then let's go back to when we go to reverse grip. There's also some grooves there, so that if I was to rest my thumb on that, I also know that that's there. So now if I'm feeling these dimples here, that's what I'm going to call them, these dimples here on my index finger, then that means I'm holding this in a reverse grip. So of course my movement's going to be dictated on how I hold this training knife. Now let's go back to the regular grip. We were talking about this aspect, like, you know, as a pulling aspect. So this, if you pull this correctly, boom, it actually deploys the training knife. It actually deploys the training knife. So again, there's no sharp edges to it. It's no point to it, but it is you know, as all intended purposes, very similar to the actual live blade. So now you can use this to slice. Now, of course, if you're gonna open the blade and you're gonna use this as a self-defense tool, it better be to that moment where it's just life and death already. Okay, so now, again, now going back to the design of this, right? The reason, now the thumb is here. This is also where you release the knife, right? So now the knife release, if you can see this, I can put my thumb inside this hole here and open the knife this way, and now I'm holding it properly. But then I could also lock it up that way. Okay, so it can all be done in one-handed. Now, of course, safety reason, I would try not to do that, but you definitely could. And then if you were to, again, you're in the middle of a fight, you're in the middle of a fight, yeah, that's what it is. You can use this, again, the knuckle duster, and then you can use this to pull, and you can use this to push, but then you can also use this aspect of it to open the knife and do what you need to do. Okay, so that's one aspect about it. Now, let's go back to the reverse grip. This is where I think, again, it's really talking about the Filipino martial artist is in mind in this one, because if you hold it even on the reverse grip, the grooves here are designed. I mean, so if you were doing the hubad, you can use the grooves here to pull the person in, and you can apply pressure into that because those grooves are there. And then if you were holding it in the regular grip, again, because of the grooves here, you can use that as well as a way to inflict more damage. And then, of course, if somebody was to punch, you can use this aspect of it as a kind of a hammer. Bam, check, hubad, in, and strike. Okay, so that's one. I mean, this is one many aspects that that I'm automatically discovering what I love about this training knife. And I'm sure as the time goes by, I'm gonna learn more about the techniques and how to use it. Now, I purposely did not watch many videos using this knife because I wanted to use it. I wanted to see if it makes sense to me first. I wanted to make sure that this actually is something that I would normally carry on a daily basis. So yeah, this is absolutely great. Now, the only thing that I don't like about this is that it is a little bit bigger. Okay, it is a little bit bigger. So I'm gonna show you a photo about this later. But when I put this in my pants, it's actually protruding. Since if you can see, the clip ends right here. This portion of the knife is sticking out. It's protruding out of my pocket. Is that a bad thing? Not necessarily. But because I am a big boy fumador, there's sometimes I'm in the tight spaces that I might not. It's hitting things to my side. Like when I'm driving, it's actually hitting to the side. So I actually have to pull this out and place it in a cup holder, and then make sure I remind myself to put it back in my pocket. So that in itself is a little bit problematic as far as for me personally as an EDC knife for me, or box opener or letter opener, whatever you want to call it. But that's issue. But again, I think, there are smaller versions of this knife, but this is for this one. That is my only issue, that it may be a little too big. So now because of that, this is specifically designed for somebody with big hands. Okay, and then so I'm sure that Grandmaster Bram Frank has multiple designs for smaller hands, but this is by far what's great. And because it's almost the exact same weight and dimension as the live blade, you can safely continuously train with this, and then have this be your EDC. Now, let me compare this to my current EDC knife. Okay, this is the Cold Steel Raja 3 knife, right? There's no training blade on this one, so this is the actual live one, right? So it's got a kind of like a kukri design to it, okay? So, but it's just a knife. That's all it is. It's absolutely a knife. But it's not designed for a Filipino martial artist. I know it's got a kukri design, so it's got the Gurkha, kind of history to it. But it's definitely, I mean, if you're comparing it apples to this, it's definitely this is by far is the more FMA friendly knife, training knife or knife actually. Yes, there's no grooves here. You can hold it in any way, but because this protrudes here, you can't really use this, and it's not that big as you can see. It doesn't barely. It can't be as a kumbatan kind of thing, right? There's no grooves on this side. It's just all it has is one deployed action mode. This Bowie blade designed by Grandmaster Bram Frank, being a Filipino martial artist himself, had the Filipino martial artist in mind when he was designing this knife. And honestly, guys, this is a great training knife. Again, it's a little too big I mean, as far as hand is concerned, it fits my hand properly, but it is a little too big for what I normally carry. But will I carry this? Heck yeah, I would. I would definitely rock this. Do I like this knife? I love this knife, okay? Not just because it was a gift for me, but it just makes sense for you guys, for this knife to be a perfect knife for a Filipino martial artist. I don't know. Do you guys agree? Do you think that the design on this, if you had one or if you don't have one, but just because of the way I described, do you think that this is a great knife for a Filipino martial artist? Comment down below. Until then, my name is Guru Francis, Big Boy Screamador. Peace out, God bless, and keep swinging them sticks.